The podcast where we're talking all things straight up. What's up, straight up fam? Look who we have here. It's Chastity. Welcome to the Straight Up Podcast.
Hi.
Again, not like you haven't been here before, but you came from behind the scenes. Grace us with your presence for this interview. Before we get started, let me just thank you, like I did Jaleesa, for your yes. When we mentioned the Straight Up Podcast to you, you didn't hesitate. You said yes right away. And I want to say that any photos that you saw during promo time and all of that was shot by Chaz Flash Photography. We'll give her another shout out at the end. If you're looking for any type of photos, she does them all. We'll get into that. But I wanted to say thank you for your yes and helping make this podcast what it is. And for coming from behind the scenes. I know that probably was the most uncomfortable yes. Definitely. But thank you, Chastity, for being with us today and exploring creativity and what that is to you. I said this before, but if I had to look up the picture in the dictionary of what creative would be, that would be you. I say that because I've watched you blossom into you and be comfortable now with who God created you to be. And so how does it feel coming from behind the shadows and sitting in the creative seat? And, you know, it's all about that timing, right? Because you've had it in you. And I think now is a great time for people to see it.
It's pretty awkward. I can't lie. It's I have like big nerves, like being like in front of the spotlight, just because I've been behind for so long, and like being like pushed behind, not asked to be in the front, and not really caring if I was, because I've been behind so long. So to finally be right here, it's weird, but I'm ready. I always like want to be humble, so I was kind of scared of that.
Yeah.
The humbleness, but I know that since I know that I don't want to like put myself in the spotlight, I know I'll stay like humble.
Yeah.
I know I'll stay where I am.
Yeah.
Like because of that fear.
Yeah.
So,
and it's a healthy fear.
Yeah.
But I think again, creating that space for you was always something that I saw. Just a plug, so y'all know, me and Chastity are family.
Yes.
Blood. This is my cousin / little sister, but I've always seen Chastity was so creative, like in her, just in general. As a young person, always, different. But I always knew that God wanted to use that difference. And so, about what age do you think you start knowing that you were creative and in a different way? Because I know you use the term weird a lot.
That's what they call me. So
know what? And if it's okay if you identify that way. If somebody's doing it in a shaming way, it's different. But if you've identified with just being different, I think the Bible talks about being a peculiar people.
Yeah.
And so a lot of times people may think of that as, what does that even look like? But that means, just being set apart.
Yeah.
That holy thing that means set apart, separated, different. That's you. So when would you say you really discovered that you were creative? By what age?
Maybe 11.
Okay.
6th grade, 7th grade. That was you think you know yourself, like you think
puberty.
Yes, it's so. I had friends, but not real friends. Just I think they wanted to be like me, but they kind of put me down at the same time. So just learning that I am weird and they like this, but they don't know how to accept it.
Yeah.
So 6th grade, 7th grade, I kept going, kept being myself, and regardless of what anybody said, I just stayed being true to myself. And
that's good. And I watched you go through that process because it wasn't just friends. Teachers, too, didn't understand you.
Definitely.
Right?
Yes.
Speak to the teachers or the adults that don't understand kids that are different. What would you say?
It will change their life, like in a negative way. Like I still think about like elementary all the way up to high school, just teachers not understanding that we're all different.
Yeah.
And like teachers, you hear them all the time, every day. You spend most of your time at school. So you'll hear those voices forever.
Yeah.
And I think it's important to just accept people for who they are at the end of the day, regardless.
And we talked about that in part 1 about cultivating people in their creativity. One thing about it, especially if you're working with young people, you have children, or you have access to them at their most impressionable ages, it's important that you speak to those things. Find ways to help them explore that in a healthy way and age appropriate, but also cultivating continually. When I see that thing in somebody, I'm always pulling on it, but in a healthy, manageable way, where I'm not, pouring my ideas and thoughts where I think they should be, but allowing them to understand these things and come to some of these aha moments themselves, but with some guidance. Because as they're developing, they're learning more. And so where you were learning more, those teachers that didn't understand you just spoke down about those things. You kind of buried those things. And like you said, being pushed to the background and never being asked to come to the front. I knew that there would be a day where I would have the full opportunity, because I always pulled on you, me and Dre, but we would have an opportunity to say, Chastity, this is your time.
Yes.
So Chastity, this is your time. And we are excited for them to see what you got coming up on this episode, part 2 of your gifting. So explain to me how you discover some of your gifting as far as rap, song. You have a beautiful voice, and even when it came into photography, and the way you see things are different.
So fashion, that's another way that I express
fashion.
I express
Absolutely.
myself. Yes.
Give me some. Yes, girl. Fashion is you.
I express myself. It was the easiest for me. Music. My mom and my dad are like musically inclined. My whole family. So I had that outlet. Just music. It's flowed through me. I love when I was growing up, I listened to the emo music and I seen how that affected me, but just every line of music I like.
Yeah.
And then with rapping, seeing that I could do it, the flow, it came natural, really.
Yeah, it seems like it's pretty easy.
It came natural.
That's a God gift.
Definitely.
And one thing we talked about in that gift, and when it does come so naturally, and people, I think Dre talked about it, rising to the occasion. When you find that thing, or like even when we're talking to Jaleesa, how it just came out and it flowed. Ultimately, when you surrender, and you surrender it to God and let Him through you be glorified, I think that really makes it look easy. And that doesn't mean there aren't challenges along the way, but for the most part, when you allow God to take that driver's seat and get total control, you stop kicking against all those other things that, that tried, or you start kicking against those, but stop kicking against God and allowing Him to ultimately use you. It becomes an easy process.
Definitely. And it opens like more opportunities. You don't get the same opportunities.
That part.
So
you don't
get
better.
It's
you
better.
don't get the same opportunities.
No.
And a lot of people don't understand that, because they'll run to certain things because it seems like a better opportunity.
Right.
But at the end of the day, it comes with a lot of stress and anxiety and a lot of things that add to that. And so then how did you discover your creative eye for photography?
Like being in church, TRC, we had a youth pastor, and he was also a photographer.
Okay.
So I seen him, and I liked him just being in his element. I like seeing people love what they do.
Yeah.
Like I like them doing I like seeing people do what they love. So I just started teaching myself on YouTube during the pandemic, and now I just what I do.
And got your own business.
Yes.
I love it.
Yes.
And so that's one of the things we talked about, is that finding that person, mentor, mentee, or whatever you want to name and identify as, was seeing somebody do something that they passionately love. I talked about being good at doing hair, but there wasn't a passion or a love. Like it didn't. I feel like you can feel that God thing awakening you when it's that passion and that love, and Christ is centered in it. And so seeing that person that you saw, your youth pastor, at the time, taking photos, it awakens something in you.
Definitely.
And then you taught yourself how to do it. And by the way, you are a great photographer.
Thanks.
You're a great photographer, and musically, it's in your blood.
Yeah.
And so I love the fact that even though a lot of the times we may not go to our parents for certain things, when it's in you, it's in you.
Definitely.
And it's in you, right?
Yes.
It's definitely in you. And so what would you say to the young person that may stumble up on this podcast, that may be trying to figure out what it is that they're creative, or how to find that thing that really is them? What would you say to them?
I would say don't look to see what other people are doing.
Mhm.
Like if you see yourself, like if you see somebody doing something and you think you like it, you can try it. But if it doesn't feel natural, if it feels
That's
like
good.
it's like just tearing you
Force.
apart, yeah,
Mhm.
force, don't do it.
Yeah.
You can try many things, but find something that you love. You will see yourself like blossom in it.
That's good.
Don't look for anything else.
Yeah. And Dre talked about just praying about it and really like leaning into that God thing, like, you know, asking God for those people to surround you with those people that can help pour into that.
Yes.
It's important to have those people, because we talked about the people that in school, the friends that didn't really understand it, the teachers that don't understand it, that may pull on it but don't pour into it.
Right.
Don't know how to manage it, you know, like it but don't understand it. But having that person that pours into it, that understands it, that helps cultivate it is very important. Yeah, and so I remember this is one of the last things I talked with Jaleesa about. I remember telling you, and I'm sure Dre told you, that God wanted to use you. How did you feel about that? And what do you think now that he is using you? How did you feel about that when we first said that to you?
I didn't want it.
Yeah.
I knew what would come with it.
Yeah.
If I messed up, I knew.
You counted up the cost.
I did every time. And I kind of like strayed away from it because I didn't want to disappoint God if I got in it and then, you know, was a hypocrite, or if people seem like, if you're in the light, I feel like you have to be perfect.
Yeah.
Like I said, putting yourself in a box and putting God in a box, but I see it's bigger than that.
Way bigger than that.
It's bigger than that. Like, it's a process.
Yes,
So
it's a process, and it's bigger than you. It's bigger
Yes.
than me, and allowing people to really see the God factor. You know, the highs, the lows, the ups and downs, because it creates that the reality of it all, and takes away the illusion.
Yes.
Right? That it's supposed to be something like that. Like we're supposed to walk blameless. And
Right.
like when we talk about perfection, but it really just means going after God with all your whole heart, maturing and growing, learning in your
Yes.
gifting and using it and letting him be glorified in your life. So I'm glad you stopped running. I'm glad you, as they say, took off your track shoes.
Me too.
Totally surrendered. And I'm excited for them to see
Yeah, I'm excited.
what you got coming up. So let them know what they're going to be checking out here at the end of this video.
So I wrote something to a beat I made myself.
Come on, beat. Yes.
And
writer, producer, Chastity is our editor, producer, photographer. I told you I give them all names. They hold a lot of seats. But
Different
tell them,
roles.
you made a beat.
I made a beat, a simple beat, but I feel like
Your first beat?
It's like my second.
Your second beat?
It's my second.
We're cultivating creativity
Yes,
over here. Come on.
I have my original lyrics, and it explains like the pain that I've been in, because I
Yeah.
feel like I've sat in pain so long.
My God.
So now I can write about it and just step out of that.
Express it, be free.
Just-
You ready?
Let's go. Yeah.
You ready? I think a lot of that fear was vulnerability. Of people
Definitely.
knowing or sharing that space, but I think creating that space is gonna help so many people.
I think so.
Yeah, and I'm so excited for them to hear your beat,
Yeah.
hear your original lyrics, and so when you hear it, she got rights to that. You don't gotta say you don't have rights to this,
Right. I got right.
and you ready to tell your story.
Yes.
I love it.
I'm ready.
Ready to tell a story. So thank you for joining us in the podcast room, coming from bravely behind the scenes, sitting in the seat and exploring your creativity. I think it's going to bless so many people. Thank you, Chassie, for being in the Straight Up podcast room.
You're welcome.
Where we're talking all things
People
straight
see
up.
this smile and they would never imagine the things I've been through. But I'm ready to tell my story now. I'm ready to tell my story now.
Yeah.
I'm ready to tell my story
It's
now.
a war going on in this vessel. God ain't playing with me. He said he never come in second. I've been trying to fight these demons by myself, and it's been stressing. Can't be mad at him for not stepping in, cause I've been neglecting him for years. He been showing me everything I done. Got the enemy confused, cause he thought he really won. Set of eyes in the back, stronger than the ones that's in front. Held grudges longer than all the rivers combined it in one. I've been grieving all my losses, cause I had the wrong vision. Exhausted with all this pain, it's by time I start repenting. Don't you ever say you wanna be like me and get real bitter. Demons been after my soul ever since I started existing. Man, y'all don't know what I know, but if you ready, come get it. It's some good food for your soul. If God said it, then it's written. Some gon' come and he gon' go. That's just life and what come with it. I got bigger bills to fold. I feel like Malcolm in the middle. Hard time encouraging myself, but watch me run to dap you up. Mind over matter sound real good. What happens when it's all too much? Can't vocalize Turns out that I feel I do way better writing it up. No but stay glued to my side, I even got the app put up. If you was wonder how I made it, ask the one who built me up. Humble me down to the ground to help me pick myself back up. Don't be deceived by all the lies of how they say you was luck. Blessings tied all to this blood, that's why my life been a little rough. And if you say love hard to find, you looking everywhere but up. That was my problem for too long. When I was starving, I was stuck. Grace kept me longer than I thought. It's always been more than enough. If victory come from this pain, I'm more than ready for my cup.
I'm ready to tell my story now. I'm ready to tell my story now.
One day I won't need this substance to help me feel good. Maybe I should call my doctor and tell him that what he prescribed just ain't good enough. Cause I begged him. I never wanted my name to be on the pill bottle, and that's why it's always hard to swallow each and every one. Rather it be the big brown one for my gut or the small white one for the other stuff. It's real, I feel everything. I can feel the pain of a stranger so deep from around the corner, and I bet I know exactly what haunts her, though the human mind so cornered when it should be alarming, but it ain't. Well, not to the majority. You got many pushing 40 with 0 to none morals, and why? We all know the answer, but few are ever sorry. And plus, this world breaks my heart, and sometimes I feel stuck in a hard place, and even on a good day. Make it make sense because I'm addicted to knowledge. It's hard to sit back and watch many only reference signs, especially when our God is greater. Though I struggle and I hate it, I know something great is on the way, but I won't ignore my mental. Despite the potential, my mind hates me. It creates stories no one but me can see, and it tortures this body every single day. I pray for a break from that before asking for more of anything I lack in the moment. I can't help but to unpack the years of slacking because I felt I deserved recognition for surviving this long without exerting my anger. I shrug my shoulders and never pass judgment because who am I? Just someone with skeletons in my closet, like who am I? Just a black woman who dropped out of college, and don't get it twisted, I copped the first degree, and even though I'm mad at myself, I know it's bigger than me, and watch me pour my heart out for all of y'all to see, and while I swear it's never easy being me, I won't fold.
Hey, Straight Up fam, if you enjoyed that episode, stay tuned for more of Straight Up Creative.
And remember to follow us on all of our platforms, especially YouTube.
Like, comment, and subscribe, and remember to hit that notification bell.
So you'll know when we gonna be
Straight up!